Tell me about the speaking engagements you've experienced since you've retired from coaching. I bet they get colorful knowing your big personality.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that's kind of happened over the last, X amount of years since I retired from coaching. It all started with a buddy of mine who is coaching in Indiana still, and he asked me if I'd come and talk to his team. They had hit a skid. They had lost 4 or 5 in a row, and in that program, they're not accustomed to doing that. And so I drove over and ended up having a really good time. And I from all accounts, the kids really got something out of it. I have taught for so long now. I think I have a pretty good basis of what to say to young men, and I've even spoken to 3 or 4 girls teams too. So I wouldn't even classify it according to gender. It's more just their age and the one thing they all have in common, I guess the two things they have in common that all young people want are success and they want to be they want to be told when they've done a good job, and they want to be told how to correct their errors if they didn't do such a good job. So it's and you and I talked about this before we went on air. I really enjoyed the video game age or era student athlete for a lot of reasons, and I don't want to get into all that necessarily now and burn all your time, but there are some things that I picked up on primarily when I was a classroom teacher, um, that young athletes and young people, by and large, high school students, even some junior high students, don't like. What I guess the best way to say it is what makes them, what turns them on, what stimulates their thinking. What can you do to stimulate critical thinking, and that's one of the things that I really felt that the video game era kid is capable of doing, and doing very well is critical thinking. So I have a checklist. Everything's in bullet points. Kids today do not want to hear stories. They don't care, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially for coaches. But I firmly believe that they could care less. They don't want to hear your stories. They don't want to hear about what happened in 1994 or whatever. Or your first league championship. They don't want to care if it doesn't directly um, stimulate them, if it doesn't directly involve them, and if it doesn't directly make them better. They don't care. And again, that's not all bad. I know a lot of coaches are really good storytellers, and I think maybe one time I fell into that category, but my last decade as a head coach, I didn't do that so much. It was more, here's what I need you to do, and here's what the program needs from you, and specificity is key. It's king with these kids. They want to know exactly how you want things done, and I know some people would probably say, well, some of my kids. No, I'm talking about the kids who are really competitors. I'm talking about the kids who really want to win, not just every AYO who's on your roster, your filler players or whatever. Those kids are certainly important, and I'm not diminishing those kids or the rules. But I'm talking about those kids who are really into success, and I think everybody knows uh, who and what I'm talking about there. Um, Kids today uh, don't need to hear, like when you said a big personality. And yeah, I did. I've got a Sheridan personality. I do. I've got a. I like to think I've got a big personality. I don't know. I think if you work with kids long enough, you're gonna have a big personality. You're basically for 8 hours a day an actor. Difference being you actually live what you're betraying or portraying, I should say, in real life time. So yeah, I guess I've got a big personality. I like to have fun, and I still have a couple friends here and there, and but don't construe that, and I know some people might. Don't construe that with lewd jokes or improper language. and I'm not saying I'm not capable of those things. I'm certainly not saying that at all. Those of you know me know that I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imaginations, nor do I really care to be perfect. but, but yeah, uh, my point's this: kids today have everywhere they turn, to their right, to their left, in front of them, behind them, where they can hear four-letter words, they can hear grotesque statements, they can hear things about anatomy that when I was their age, I probably didn't know, or functions of that subgroup. I probably didn't know. Heck, I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. But I do know this: it's available now more than it ever has been. And all that does to a kid today or a young adult today is prove to them that you have to try to be in vogue. Kids today, that's one thing I firmly believe. Kids today want real, I mean, quote unquote real. They want to see the real you. They want to hear what you think, not what you, or not what you think they want you to think per se. They want to hear the real you, and they like authenticity. Now, they might not agree with everything you say, but see, that's the thing. If you can stimulate their thinking and make them think critically, or encourage them or help them to think critically about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and what their goals are, and talk to them about goals. Kids today, your best kids, and I don't mean your angels, I'm talking about your competitors, the kids who want to win. They're into goals more so now than any genre of kid. I've been at it almost 30 years now, but these kids want to, they're into goals. They like journaling. They like these things. No matter if they're doing it, with a pen and paper, or they're using a dictaphone on their device, cell phone, whatever. But they like recording. They like data. That's one thing these kids are into. When I was even in college playing for Coach Platt, I'd look at stats every now and then. The main stat I was interested in was getting to play. I just wanted to, I wanted to be on the court. I wanted to play. I wanted to be on the floor with Jeff Shepard and Matt Eberly and Brody Garber and Lance Stalkler, Kyle Fox, Brandon Murphy. I know I'm leaving people out, but I wanted to be on the floor. And today's kid, there's not as many kids going out for sports. So just being on the court, I don't know if that's as crucial as it was at one time. But their statistics, what they can do to better themselves, again, I'm talking about the competitors, the kids who want to win, the kids who are there every day at open gym, the kids who put the time in. These are the kids I'm talking about. And again, I'm not diminishing your AYOs. They serve an important purpose. But I think it's harder to reach the kids who are really striving to be good. Uh, if you're a person my age or older, I'm in my middle 50s or approaching my middle 50s. So I think there's some things we've had to change in how we approach these kids. But going back to the big personality stuff, now kids, if you start dropping four-letter words and talking about inappropriate subject matter around them, and, and this is from, I've had the luxury. One of the things, and I know I'm going off the rails again, I've been able to talk to inner city kids um, in three different states, Missouri, Ohio, and Indiana, rural kids, kids that have a school out in the middle of nowhere, suburbia, the suburbanites who live next to a city. And so I've gotten the opportunity to talk to, and even some college kids. So I've talked to three college teams. So I've gotten the opportunity to talk about every type of demographic, if you will. And all of those kids, they don't want to hear that. Today's kid, they can turn their iPhone on or their device, whatever, and they can hear that out one ear, one, that's one thing they won't have any problem finding, not one bit. But as far as someone sitting down with them and talking to them for a short period of time about what they need to do, one of the topics I use, every kid wants to be different. That's never going to change, in my humble opinion. That ain't never going to change. Kids want to be different. Well, there's some ways you can be different that don't involve certain things, if you will. And that's one of the things I like to talk about. And that might be the biggest, the thing that they you always know with kids, you've done a good job engaging them if they give you feedback questions or they raise their hand or they ask for you to elaborate on a certain point. And knock on wood, luckily, I've had a lot of that. And but as far as the swearing or talking about stuff that uh, isn't kosher, that anybody can do, that takes no talent. It takes no talent, 0.0 talent to walk in front of people and talk like an uneducated person, to talk like a buffoon, if you will. Um, which again, I'm not. I'm everyone who knows me is laughing because they've heard me say some things that are probably you know off the cuff, if you will. But not when I engage with kids. No way. They don't want to hear it. Adults don't want to hear it either. If you're, I've been lucky enough. I've been able to talk to a group of adults twice. They don't want to hear it either. They don't want to hear it. You can hear it anywhere. They want to hear specificity. They want to hear how to get better. They want to hear how, maybe you'll get asked a little bit about what you did to get where you were or how you got to be in front of them speaking. And that's valid. I get that. That's credible, but not much. Just the bullet points, and then move on to what they want to know, what I know or what you know, and how can you communicate that to them to make them better at what they do and better at serving themselves and their teammates or their workforce mates, if you will, in making everything as a conglomerate better. And that's what they want. And do I add a little humor in it? Sure. I work with kids 5 days a week, and when you're coaching 7 days a week, so yeah, I had a little humor, but who doesn't, huh? But it ain't. It's not. Uh, you know. Bobby bag of donuts standing in front of people and dropping f bombs and cursing and again that takes no talent, none, 0.0 no talent. Kids want to hear how you can make them better. They want to be challenged to think critically. They want to be challenged to step out of their comfort zone. And for those of us who've been in education or any line of work or coached long enough, then you've got some pretty good ideas from your own experiences, things you've studied, things you've researched. And that's what makes you valuable, to transmit what you have to other people to make them better. And all you're asking in return is their attention. And that's something else that's rarefied air, if you will, in today's market. You don't have your palms up asking them for something in return. You're just trying to help other people. And that is one thing that has not changed from the first day I started being a professional until now, is people recognize real fast when they're around someone who has a genuine interest in simply helping them. And it makes me feel good to help other people. And I know most, if not all, teachers are the same way. So I enjoy it. I do. I've gotten to the point where I really have a passion for it and would like to do it a little bit more. Um, but that comes with time. Rust Belt basketball is very new, very new. It's only been around for a little over a year, so we've got plenty of time. But yeah, I enjoy it. And Kelsey, I appreciate you asking that. I was kind of hoping you would, because I know you'd mentioned before we started you'd heard someone's daughter mention that you and I were friends, and I had spoken to her team. So I was glad that if a kid remembers your name, remember the message you give. That's half the battle right there. But good players, good students, people, young people, older people, professionals, anybody with goals, anybody with passion, anybody who wants to be the best they can be, they want to learn. They want to learn, and they want to be around people who can help them do that. And young people want to learn how to critically think. They want to learn how to make goals. They want to learn about the goal making process, and they want to learn. Okay, so this goal obviously isn't going to happen. We're not going to win the league. Okay, great. Then let's adjust that goal, and that's what professionals do. So thanks for asking that. What else you got?